are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. AMP2.TV presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on AMP2.TV. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
Welcome to Tell Us Your Biz, and I'm your host tonight, Paul Solomon. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am the owner of Luhu Realty and Luhu Advisors. I am a licensed real estate broker. I am a licensed insurance agent. I am a long-term care specialist. I am also a licensed assisted living administrator, and I am a certified senior advisor. I've been selling real estate in South Florida for over 30 years, and I've been a licensed insurance agent specializing in long-term care, insurance for health and for life, and I've had that license for about 13 years. I'm also licensed to help with fixed and indexed annuities, and I've been working with baby boomers and seniors to help them protect their assets and help find ways for long-term care. Within the real estate world, I am a senior real estate specialist. I'm a graduate of the Realtor Institute. I am a certified senior advisor, and the certification is a double accredited in the national certification agencies. So between being educated in the senior world, I have a background that's been checked and double checked, and everything I do is centered around seniors. Let me tell you a little bit about how I got involved in this. 13 years ago, my dad started showing signs of dementia. And my mom called me up and said, Dad wants me to take over our finances. And my mom said, I need help. And that's how my business evolved over the last 13 years. I sat with my parents, and like a lot of baby boomers dealing with their seniors, they really don't know what their parents have, whether it's finances, whether it's life insurance, whether it's long-term care, whether it's about their real estate. And I sat there that Saturday for about 13 to 14 hours, putting everything together to really understand what my parents had. I thought my sister, who's older than I am, was taking care of all this, but she wasn't. And like a lot of seniors, they're really apprehensive in telling their adult children what they have. They're scared to tell them, thinking that they would then push them to do planning for them that they don't want to do. And I hear the expression all the time from my seniors saying, you know, they'll get it when I die. They'll get it when I die. I'm not telling them. I'm not getting involved. And let them just wait. And that's the worst thing that our seniors can do. My dad, it took me about, almost 2 years to get him not to trust me, but to really understand that planning was something that was needed with the family. I realized then that my dad didn't have long-term care. My mom did, and she was making a monthly payment, and she really had no idea what she was paying. And I told her, that's the first payment you make every month. My dad, who had health issues his whole life, and you name it, heart attacks, bypass surgeries, prostate cancer, he had a white blood disorder, and then dementia kicked in. And it really was earth-shattering to my mom because she was in denial. And she really didn't know what to do. Part of what my training has been and how I've been involved is I've been doing a lot of networkings, a lot of lunch and learns, and I understood what the caregiving was all about. So I really became a caregiver of a caregiver. And it's been a journey where unfortunately my dad passed away 2 years ago. Well, it's 2.5 years ago. And my mom is 93 and she has dementia. And some days she knows who I am, and some days she doesn't. So what I had to learn pretty quickly within my background of real estate and insurance is try and figure out the benefits they had and also the benefits that are out there that we can get through the government. And whether it's the VA benefits, my dad was a wartime veteran of Korea, and also the Medicaid benefits that are out there that a lot of people don't understand and think they can't get. And the first couple of years, I was trying to understand the VA because that was very important to my dad, and it was very important to a lot of the veterans out there to make sure they understand what benefits are out there. And I can say that a lot of veterans understand the medical side. They go to the VA hospital and they go to the local clinics that are out there for VA, but they don't understand the long-term care side. And it was kind of interesting for me to speak to the VA myself, and they couldn't fully explain the long-term care side to me. So I spent about a year and a half working with a company trying to understand the VA benefits, and I understood them. And that became part of my business plan of helping veterans out there, especially the seniors with disabilities that wasn't getting the VA disability, but having the ability to get long-term care for them. And it's sizable. Up to about $2,000 a month to help pay for care. And even surviving spouses, a lot of people don't know that the surviving spouse, even if the spouse is alive, but the surviving spouse can get VA benefits, again, if their spouse, loved one was in the military during wartime. So that was a big benefit that I started helping people with. And once I was doing that, that led me into getting Medicaid training and understanding what the Medicaid benefits are. And that opened up a whole nother world. Once I got involved with Medicaid, now I'm dealing with estate planning attorneys. I'm dealing with elder law attorneys. I'm dealing with senior care placement people. I'm dealing with geriatric care managers. I'm dealing with assisted livings. I'm dealing with nursing homes and even home care agencies. And that conversation I was having with everybody really opened my eyes with what I can do for my own parents, but then that really became my focus in business, is helping the baby boomers or caregivers understand how to protect the assets that people work so hard for. My dad worked, he tells the story of when he was 13, 14 years old, driving a truck for his father in the Bronx. And that's kind of how he got his start in the family business. He then took the business over from my grandfather. It became a bigger family business. But just understanding the seniors and working with them and understanding that there's a lot of information out there that people are not educated. And that's kind of how I started my journey with the educating them with the VA benefits and the Medicaid benefits. And then working with the attorneys, understanding probably the most important thing for a family to have is the right power of attorney, healthcare directives, and living wills, the estate planning aspect for their parents. People have them either from another state when they come down to Florida, or I spoke to somebody the other day and they had it from the 1990s. And things have changed, the documents have been changed, and the updates are really needed to get them involved so that when that crisis happens, they can't say, well, where's your document? I've been to the hospital plenty of times. I've been to doctors, and I am the power of attorney for my mom. I was the power of attorney for my dad. I was the healthcare surrogate. And most of the time, I would say they didn't ask for it. When I got to them having to be in the hospital, they started asking for it. And that's when I had to provide it. And it's a good thing those documents were updated. When we start applying to VA and or Medicaid, there's language in the power of attorneys that the attorneys put in there to make sure that this language is in there so that there are no issues when we do the applications for the VA and Medicaid. So understanding your family's dynamics, understanding the siblings in the family, understanding the real estate, how do they own the property? Does the son or daughter have their name on the property? What about, is it in a trust? And again, understanding all these things with my experience that I've been dealing with this first with my family and now with these hundreds of clients over the last 13 years that I've been doing this, really has opened up a lot of people's eyes saying, hey, we really need to speak to somebody. Maybe we don't want to go to an attorney right off the bat, but maybe we need to speak to somebody that understands everything that my family is going through, and that's something that I can say that I have that experience. So from going from the caregiver, or the caregiver of the caregiver, I was really caregiving for my mom and my dad while my mom was caregiving for my dad, to then caregiving for my mom. It really has been a journey where between their income and their assets and then qualifying them, my dad for Medicaid, of which we were able to do, and people just figure that they'll speak to their financial advisor, they'll speak to their CPA, they'll speak to maybe their estate planning attorney, but they really need to understand that it takes a team to get through this process. I know enough about all these different subjects, but I then work with the individuals, with the families, with the individual attorney, CPA, financial advisor, whether we need a reverse mortgage. Where is the money going to come from to help pay for this care? Because a lot of people think that Medicare might help and pay for long-term care, but it doesn't. So Medicare is a subject that everybody needs to understand. It's helping for the medical side, and you do get some care when you're rehabbing. When you're going through, say, a situation where you have a hospital visit and you go through to a rehab, Medicare will help pay for it. But most of the time, no one's going to be there in your house, whether it's 1 hour, 5 hours, or 24/7, to help you when you need activities of daily living, whether it's bathing, dressing, cooking, eating, being transferred, ambulatory. All these things are needed at home. And unless there's a sibling that you have or adult children, they usually trade off on helping the families. But if you don't have somebody that lives close by, you really need to hire somebody to watch over your family members. And again, getting back to my parents, because that's kind of where it all started, we wanted to bring in help from my parents, and my mom didn't want anybody in the house. And because she didn't want anybody in the house, she was trying to do it herself. I would get the phone calls daily, if not weekly, that something was happening. Fortunately, I live close by, about a half hour away, so I can run up and take care of things. But it got to the point where my dad's dementia was kicking in, and he would go out and wander, but he would come back. And I said to my mom, we need to protect Dad, where if he wanders, we have to know where he is. So between the Alzheimer's Association and a couple other associations out there locally, we kind of got a GPS bracelet for my dad. And then there's other things you can do, like change the locks on the door so my dad wouldn't know where the lock is, and you raise it higher as opposed where it's been for all these years down low. My mom wanted to do nothing. And unfortunately, we went through that awful thing that happened where my dad went missing for 22 hours. He went out of the house and he walked down the street, and my mom said, oh, he'll be back, because he used to come back all the time. But this one day, he didn't come back. And after 2 or 3 hours of missing, I had to go up there. We called the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, and they came out in full force. They came out with helicopters, with dogs, and they came out with drones looking for my dad. And from about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon until midnight, we couldn't find him. And they put a silver alert, even though it wasn't in a car, he was out walking. They said, listen, we'll try anything. And they left at 12 o'clock midnight, and they said, listen, we'll be back in the morning. And they said, the longer this goes on, we don't know if we're going to be able to find him, and hopefully he'll be alive. Well, it took until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they did find him. He was in the development, maybe 1,500 feet away from the front door and part of the country club they lived in, and the golf course was closed. And they found him on the embankment, and he was awake, but that kind of was the beginning of the end. For the next year and a half, between going in and out of the hospital, going into rehabs, going into a nursing home, and because he's a wanderer, we had to have a secured area for him. And because my mom now was living alone, I couldn't really have her be alone, so we had to move my mom out of the house. So we had to sell her house, move her into an assisted living. They couldn't live together. And my dad was in memory care, and my mom was in just regular assisted living. And it was an experience, and it was traumatic. I had to make that decision. They couldn't live anymore. So the point of this is that you really need to plan. You really need to sit down with your parents and get them to understand how things could be made easy, and whether they have long-term care or not. People don't understand that up to the age of 80 and possibly up to 85, depending on the health of the senior, there is a long-term care policy that people can buy. And people need to be educated where they think, oh, I'm 60, 65, I'm too old to buy long-term care, and that's not true. At 79, I applied for my dad to have long-term care insurance, and I knew that there were knockout questions. And I knew he had two, but you needed three where they wouldn't give him the insurance. And I really didn't understand how bad his dementia was. And that knocked him out where he couldn't get it. If it was a couple years before, 75, 76, we probably would have been able to get him long-term care, and that would have saved my family easy $250,000 that we spent on their care. And that's me knowing what I'm doing. So just imagine the families that can blow through money pretty quickly. One of my issues that I had why I couldn't protect their assets sooner was my mom wouldn't let put my dad into a nursing home. And we had him in an assisted living with memory care, and the only way he can stay in there was with an aide. And we were spending between my mom and my dad about $22,000, $23,000 a month for them to have care, to make sure everything was covered. And then finally, after about a year, I said to my mom, this is crazy. We're going to run out of money if we got to keep spending money like this. And she finally let me put him into a nursing home. And a lot of people out there, again, don't understand how nursing homes are set up these days. Like my parents, they thought about where their parents or grandparents were, and it wasn't a great place, and it was disgusting, dirty, bad care. But things have come a long way with nursing homes. And I could say my dad was probably in the Ritz-Carlton of nursing homes in Palm Beach County, and it was $13,000 a month. But because of the planning I was able to do, we were spending his income, his Social Security. That's what our cost was that we had to give up to the nursing home as a copay deductible, and the state of Florida was able to pay the rest. And that was able to move money of his, protect assets that he have. In the state of Florida, there is a look-back period of 5 years to plan for Medicaid. But with the rules that we have here, we can avoid the 5-year look-back by being able to move assets around depending upon where they are. And that's kind of why I like what I do, because every case, every family that comes and meets with me, every situation is different. So I have to sit with the family and really sit down with them and understand, okay, tell me about your real estate. Whose name is the property in? Is it in a trust or not? Tell me about your life insurance. Do you have any? Is there cash value to this life insurance policy? What's the death benefit? Does it make sense to cash it out or not? Obviously, do you have long-term care? And do you understand your long-term care policy? Is it for home care? Can you use it for assisted living? Can you use it for a nursing home? Because the older policies that people bought, what they can afford sometimes, was maybe only good for either home care or nursing home. So if it doesn't cover what they need, they might have to move their family to where they can use that policy or not. I just had a family that they were paying every month for the last 20-something years, and we realized that the benefit was like $50 a day. And at $50 a day, that's not a lot of coverage. And they decided to let it go because they realized that I can get the Medicaid benefit for them, and they were able to protect their house, protect a little bit of the assets they have left, and get Medicaid for them. So, again, everything has to come together to qualify somebody, but I need to know everything about the family. And I work with the adult children, usually the power of attorney. And if not, that's part of the process, is getting a new power of attorney done by the estate planning attorney / elder law attorney, and having that document. And now I can talk to that adult child and or power of attorney, whoever it might be, and explain to them, this is what we need. There's an intake that we do. And once we see the intake, we can then figure out where the assets are, where the real estate is, and we can then put a plan together. And I work with the attorney, I work with the CPA, I work with the financial advisor, and I work with a reverse mortgage person too. Reverse mortgages play a big part of what I do. If somebody wants to stay home and their biggest asset is their house, well, maybe we can pull money out of the house, use a reverse mortgage take the money, protect it, and qualify somebody for Medicaid. So that's a big part of what I do also. I bring in my friend who's a reverse mortgage specialist, and I know enough to be dangerous about that. But again, I bring it up so people understand it. There's good reasons to use reverse mortgages, and there are people have used it poorly. They take the money out of their house, they go buy a boat, they go buy a new car, they go on trips with their family, and really they need to protect for a rainy day. So if you can give me a call, it's a free consultation. My phone number is 954-540-6609. That's direct to me. My email is paulsolomonpa@gmail.com, or my website is www.luhuadvisors.com, and all my information is on there too. I offer free consultations. If you think that's something that you need to talk about, free consultation, half hour, 45 minutes. And then after that, I can do consulting for an hourly rate, or I work with an elder law attorney, and I work with our team, and the attorney gets paid, and I work within the team to put a plan together, and then my team, my assistants, do the applications for Medicaid. I have a team to do long-term care, so I have a team that does illustrations and puts together the policy for me for the long-term care. I have an assistant that does real estate. So I really encompass everything when it comes to the seniors, and that's the designation, the certification I got with Certified Senior Advisor, to be able to understand between the beginning from the health situation of your loved one, through the financial, through the legal aspect of it, through the care portion of it, through the housing portion of it, and then even Social Security and how that would work and the benefits that are out there for Medicaid, VA benefits, long-term care benefits. So it's a passion of mine. Education is a big thing with me. There's a lot of misinformation out there. You can't Google what I do. Putting it all together in a nice, neat package individually. I love to meet with the families. I love to meet with the power of attorneys directly. So feel free, again, give me a call. Best number to reach me is 954-540-6609, or my email at paulsolomonpa@gmail.com. So thanks again for being with us this evening, and looking forward to speaking to you soon.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production.